Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Mr. Rettig, on your nomination. As you know, New Jersey joined 32 other states and D.C. by recently passing a law that authorizes towns and cities to create charitable funds and provide tax credits to encourage donations. But in an advisory notice released in May, it seems to me that the IRS has arbitrarily singled out new programs like New Jersey and warned that taxpayers could face penalties if they write off deductions, write off their donations, I should say. This fundamentally flawed advisory contradicts decades of precedent in case law, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and discriminates against states, apparently based on political affiliation. So my question to you, if you're confirmed as the IRS Commissioner, would you adhere to the principles of federalism and states' rights and respect the authority of states to set their own tax policy?
If I'm confirmed as Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, we will follow the law impartially in a non-biased manner. And as I believe I've indicated previously, nobody should presuppose my position on any particular issue across the board, that the Internal Revenue Service will appropriately look into the facts, look at the relevant policies, procedures, prior guidance that has been issued, and I believe come to the accurate conclusion in issuing whatever guidance the Internal Revenue Service is to issue.
Well, I appreciate that. If 32 other states in the District of Columbia already have the same exact principle, and it is in effect, and it has been upheld by the IRS, would you see any reason to discriminate against another state if, in fact, they are doing the very same essence of what those 32 other states are doing?
It's not an issue that in my practice I have dealt with, but in the press that I have read with respect to the issue, it's my understanding that there's a possibility that the Post-Tax Act situation could be not on all fours with the earlier position taken by the Internal Revenue Service in the 2010 Chief Counsel notice.
Well, as you know, I raised this with you when you came to visit me, and I do appreciate that you visited me, and you told me you didn't know much then, and I said to you that I gave you a very early warning that I'd be asking you these questions at this hearing. So this is a serious issue that can raise property tax burdens and sow confusion for hundreds of thousands of New Jerseyans, and they're going to deserve a clear answer. Again, would you undermine New Jersey's law and deny people deductions for these charitable contributions if they're in line with 32 other states and the District of Columbia that are doing this right now and that the IRS has upheld?
Senator, I think as we both know, the IRS and Treasury are both working on guidance. My incentive with respect to the guidance would be that it be accurate, impartial, non-biased, and clear, and issued timely. And it should not be lost on the committee that although your comments relate to New Jersey, I happen to be from the state of California, which is working on a similar situation. And I would still look at it in a non-biased, impartial manner.
Well, let me give you some background. In 2011, the IRS Chief Counsel released an advisory memo clarifying that state credits do not, I repeat, do not prohibit taxpayers from writing off the full value of their charitable donations. In other words, getting a tax break doesn't mean you earn more money and thus you shouldn't be taxed more as a result. The Supreme Court confirmed this interpretation, ruling that state tax credits given for charitable donations are not considered a thing of value and rather are, I quote, the government declining to impose a tax. I think we can all agree it's illogical, impractical, and fundamentally backwards to tax people on the value of a tax break they receive. In some states, tax lawyers and accountants have bragged about how they're using their program to circumvent the property tax cap. For example, in Alabama, financial advisors explain that so-called donations are, as I quote, treated as if you paid Alabama taxes for federal purposes, your donation will be reported as a charitable contribution. Otherwise, the state tax payment would be reported as a SALT deduction subject to the $10,000 cap and provide no tax benefit to you. And these efforts to maximize deductions were common even before the Trump tax bill gutted the property tax deduction. Indeed, high-priced tax lawyers and accountants in Georgia have been for years urging their clients to shift their itemized deductions from state taxes to charitable donations in order to avoid the alternative minimum tax. So are Alabama and Georgia's programs in compliance with the law and IRS rules?
I think you're aware, I'm not specifically aware of the Alabama and Georgia programs themselves. And I think that when we met, you raised an issue that perhaps the current situation, the difference between credits and deductions, and I'm not sure that that's a difference that's
Mr. Chairman,
material.
you're tapping before my time is even up.
Your time is up.
Well, it isn't up now, but not when you were tapping. Can I hear the balance of the answer, at least?
You could have,
Mr. Chairman, I think both of us went about a minute or so over. Could Senator Menendez just have that, too?
sure, I'm not going to stop
I appreciate the
anybody,
chairman's
but
courtesy.
don't accuse me of interfering with your, I tapped that to let you know you're near the end, so that we don't have the carryovers that have prolonged this committee unnecessarily. Go ahead.
Senator, I'm aware of your concern with respect to this issue and the concern of
Yes, I
others
was.
with respect to this issue and the concern of taxpayers across the country with respect to this issues. And I would look forward to a resolution that universally people could say is the right resolution.
Well, I'll just close on this. The one thing I don't want to see is the IRS weaponized against states like mine. It's either good for everybody, the 32 states that have been doing it, and the District of Columbia, or it's good for nobody. And so I hope you will seriously look at this in that manner, because otherwise we will feel that we are being treated unjustly simply because we are the state that we are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.